The following podcast is brought to you by the Ebb Tide Treatment Center. Many people wrestle with addiction. You don't have to. Reach out to the Ebb Tide Treatment Center, where they wish to empower each individual encountered with the support, hope, and tools required for long-term sobriety, priding themselves on providing the best possible treatment experience for you and your loved ones based on unique needs. They're committed to breaking the stigma that plagues those suffering with addiction and their families by educating and bringing awareness to the community. The Ebb Tide Treatment Center provides individual and group therapy, multiple recovery pathways for support, evidence-based clinical support, integrated aftercare social reintegration, personalized treatment planning, program addressing whole life health, and Vivitrol program, all available. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, reach out to them at ebbtidetc.com or call 844-430-4357. Hello once again, everybody. Thanks for listening to AIW's The Card is Going to Change. Before we get into this week's episode, as always, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors that help us bring the show to you for free each and every week. Firstly, thanks to Angelo's Pizza. They're feeding us here as they always do while we record, and they, of course, bring pizza to you at our live events at Mount Carmel. If you want to try more of their pizza or anything else on their menu, it's all delicious. Head to Angelo's on Madison Avenue in Lakewood, Ohio. And thanks to Smart Mark Video, they record all of our live events. And if you want to relive any of those or watch them for the first time, you can purchase that on DVD or digital download from smartmarkvideo.com. And additionally, head to powerbomb.tv, sign up using the code ABSOLUTE, and you will get a 20-day trial for free. And then stick around and just keep watching the shows that we put out there from the AIW archives. And as always, thanks to Jack Prince, who helps take care of all of our printing and graphic design needs. They can do all of that and more for you, whether it be banners, t-shirts, business cards, flyers, everything and anything. For all that they have to offer, head to jackprince.com.
jakprince.com.
Yeah, that's right. That voice you heard, none other than AIW owner John Thorne. My name is Steve Guy. I am your moderator of sorts. That's right, just two of us here right now. And that's because we don't really need anybody else for this one. We put you guys in charge. This is a John Thorne AMA. You shot in some emails. John's going to give us, hopefully, some answers.
We'll see. It depends on the questions.
And we'll go from there, I guess. So what do you say we get right into it?
Let's get into it. No preparation for me. Let's do it.
No, all right. So this first email has multiple questions.
Great.
Question 1. Is there any way we could hear your and or Steve Guy's version of the Chandler werewolf story? I remember the podcast never got to hear it before he passed, and we would still like to hear the story. I got one of those 6 shirts with him and the werewolf.
I don't know. I've thought about telling the story, and I've talked to his family about telling the story, and they've told me that I could tell the story. But I don't know. It was like his story to tell, and he was he was like half didn't want to tell it because he was like was a legit terrifying thing that he experienced. But right before he got sick, we kind of like broke him down into it with me just continuously bringing it up on the podcast that he had agreed to do it as a bonus episode, or if we got, I think we were trying to get like 100 5-star reviews or something at the time. And it's kind of crazy because it was actually like what was on the docket to get recorded in the next like week or so when he got sick, because honestly, we might have been planning on recording it the day that he got sick, because I know that the day that he got sick, we had a UXWA ring rental, in which we were, I believe, all together. It was your birthday, so we were. I think we were getting ready to get something together that weekend.
We were planning on doing it either that day or the day after, and then he was messaging us telling us he got sick, wasn't going to be able to do it amongst everything else. So I think that's like, it's Chandler's story to tell, and for us, I mean, he did enjoy that becoming an ongoing thing, but I think there are some things that we want to have as our own of him. At least for us doing this, like that's one of the things that we get to keep, is that ongoing.
And on top of it, I just couldn't do it justice because I did not live it. And I always thought it was really ridiculous. But I've heard him tell it, 100 times, and he would get very descriptive and animated, and it just wouldn't live up to the hype if I was to tell it, because it just,
he would get more worked up as the story went on.
So I guess the long answer is a no for right now.
Maybe we'll come back to it. Who knows? Question number 2 in there. What's the status on an AIW show in Columbus this year?
I've actually, when we decided to start trying to do a little branching out a few months ago, Akron was the first stop, on the plan or whatever. And Columbus is definitely, on the list. It was, second, I would say, on the list of where we would like to expand to if we were to expand. I've spoken to some venues there. Specifically, I spoke to a place called Ace of Cups that a lot of AIW fans had pointed me in the direction of and thought it would be a perfect fit. And unfortunately, they were greatly uninterested in the idea of professional wrestling coming to their venue. It's just a matter of, just like in Akron, of finding the right venue, and kind of going from there. I'm aware of like the big venues, where NXT runs events, and places that are definitely too big for us down there.
Right.
So it's like, it's just a matter of finding the right place.
Yeah, it all comes down to the venue.
Right. So, I know that, some other fans, have messaged me some ideas, but, the one place was like an art, like an artist studio, and it was like small. I think that was too small. So it's like, it's definitely on the list of things. There's just nothing currently, planned as of right now. I know that there's a lot of people that travel from Columbus, probably more for the big shows than every show. But I realize that, just like Akron, it's kind of a starved market for independent wrestling. I know Ring of Honor goes there a few times a year, but other than that, there's not a ton going on there. So it's definitely on our list of places we would like to go, and we would like to do something. But just like Akron, we don't want to roll in and do it halfway. We want to go all in, and we'll, you guys, when we do the Akron episode, you guys will get to hear about all the intricacies that went into that. But it's not as simple for us, to throw a dart at a map and be like, okay, we're gonna have a show there. Like there's a lot more planning involved, and especially worrying about the stuff here, as well as maintaining a full-time job, and there's just not enough hours in the day sometimes to get this stuff done. And
I should say, really, it starts with the venue, but everything that goes with, because Akron was one thing, Columbus is another. Then we have to start to think about, all right, well, we just put on a 3.5 hour show or so. We don't live in Columbus.
Right.
It's still 2.5 hour drive, depending on where we'd be.
And you have to promote, and you have to,
Yeah. Are we all staying in hotels? There's a lot more that goes into it. The expenses certainly go up.
Right. Yeah. Taking the show on the road definitely brings expenses up. But right situation, we would definitely do it. Obviously we would like to probably do something, near the campus or something. So,
right.
We can draw kind of that younger crowd, but, it's not something that has 100% come together yet.
Now, our next question in this email, what's the story with Alex Daniels? I know he was retiring and then changed his mind near the end of last year. Will he be booked at AIW anytime soon?
I'm going to go and say no, he will not be booked at AIW anytime soon. Alex Daniels is just kind of like an unfortunate story. I think he got a lot too soon, and that too soon went directly to his head. And there was a change in character, not only on screen, but in real life, behind the curtain. And he just turned into a different person, and a person that I'm not a fan of by any stretch of the imagination at this point.
He became a fucking dickhead, to be perfectly honest.
When Chandler Biggins passed away, I heard through the grapevine that he had some things to say that I don't think were appropriate. Specifically, what he said was that Chandler Biggins dying didn't affect him at all. It had zero impact or effect on his life. As far as him and AIW, I wouldn't hold my breath on that. And there's a zillion other stories of just poor behavior, especially for somebody so young and new in wrestling, to be carrying himself the way that he did and treating people the way that he did was just we don't want to have negativity around, and he became a very negative person in a very short amount of time.
I get these stories that he's trying to hold promoters up for money. I know that there was an incident with Mike from Nova Pro, and I got to hear about this stuff from other people that reflects poorly on me. Not to mention that he was kind of initially given the reins to take over the classes when Gargano was going through his relocation process, and Candace was here infrequently, and he just kind of used it to take advantage of people. He hurt people, was very rough on people. He ended up fracturing somebody's vertebrae at the school. And just overall just shitty behavior. He became, I don't know, maybe he didn't become, maybe he was just always this person, and the more comfortable he got, the more this person, came to light for all of us to see. But, there were countless other stories here that I'm not even going to mention, threatening students and, shaking students down for money, and I just can't be a part of that. And I really question people that still want to use him on their shows or are fans of him. Maybe I'm biased because I know the things that he did and said, and that's why he's not around. I did give him this similar talk after Absolution. And I told him he needed to really change the person that he is, and I don't know. I guess he really didn't give a fuck about that, because I don't think that he had any remorse for the things that he said or did, and never went out of the way to make things right as far as that's concerned. So it's unfortunate. It's I think it's kind of it reflects poorly on I don't want him to reflect poorly and represent the entire AIW school. So I'd rather just we just severed ties with him, and that was kind of that.
But so that being said, does the old adage apply of never say never?
I I mean,
along with what you just mentioned here, seeing some changes in attitude and whatnot.
Never say never, but I would say it's
not soon.
I wouldn't get my hopes up.
All right, last one within this email because we had multiple. Any idea when Shayna is going to either drop or be stripped of the belt?
I mean, is there an idea? Yeah, there's an idea. Is it something that's going to happen anytime soon? Probably not.
I mean, do you want to be the one to take it from her? I guess that's what I'm asking the person asking the question.
Yeah, we get this a lot. But on Twitter and stuff like that. The thing is with taking over the finances and everything, the Girls' Night Out shows were definite money losers, and the benefit of them was they would do so well in the video market. Mm-hmm. But as more women's companies have kind of come on the scene, and
you're kind of specialized in that.
It's just the specialty of the video release has the demand for that has also gone down. So it's like lower attended and lower like video purchases on top of well more added expenses because very few of these girls are within driving distance. There's a lot of flights involved. There's a lot of hotels involved. And I don't want to price gouge the fans, so it's something to where I knew that there was going to be a long needed break from the Girls' Night Out brand, that's just the way it was. Actually, Shayna was scheduled for one more show, even though that I knew that she had been offered something. I think myself and Josh Barnett were the only people that were told that she got a deal when she got the deal, which was well before anybody, knew that she had a deal. And I was going to book her again, and I was going to book her again to win, and just kind of leave the belt, mm-hmm. and kind of disappear, off into the WWE, and just kind of not have the women's title for a while. And I know that may make some people mad, and it has nothing to do with not liking women's wrestling or women's wrestling. It just
we still have women's matches. We just had one in Akron.
It's just simply the burden of trying to make the Girls' Night Out brand work on top of just trying to overhaul the entire company was just not something that I wanted to do. So yeah, there is a plan, but I'm not going to sit here and say what the plan is in case something doesn't happen with the plan. But
right.
there is a plan in place to obviously strip Shayna of the belt and transition elsewhere. However, like it's not something that is like it's not like something that if we don't have a women's championship defended for a while, it's not something that is gonna make or break the company right now. I've still been trying to feature women's matches every now and then, just so people don't totally forget about it. You know? It's just a matter of trying to make it work financially. It's been it was a tough year. We've documented that a few times. Just the state of the finances and the business as a whole were kind of all over the place. So in the last year, we've gotten some things in order, and now it's like, okay, like this person wants Columbus. Yes, Columbus is on the it's on the dry erase board of to-do list, and so is Girls' Night Out and the women's title situation. But I don't have a plan for that until at least the fall. I will give you a ballpark of the fall.
Would you this is not in here, but just kind of a follow to that, would you consider not necessarily putting the women's belt or the women's title within there, but would you consider partnering with one of these all-female promotions to do a GNO?
No.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, why am I going to partner with somebody when I've done it enough myself?
Yeah.
Why am I going to... And money is an issue. Why am I going to then split the money with somebody else?
Split that cost.
Yeah. Well, split the cost and split the money. You know, it's like...
Yeah. So our next question.
It's like, why even do it at that point?
Fair enough. I've heard you all, as well as other podcasts, talk about wrestling seminars before, but what do these entail, and how can they benefit younger wrestlers today?
The wrestling seminars are all different. Like, there's not a solid answer for that, but how it can benefit a young wrestler is you never stop learning. And a lot of these guys with a ton of knowledge do not offer a pro wrestling school or a place to go train with them. So, you know, what's great is you could take your base of learning that you've learned at whatever wrestling school that you went to, and then you can go and you can add on to that, and you could, like a Zack Sabre Jr. seminar has, showed guys a zillion things about technical wrestling.
Right.
To where an Arn Anderson seminar showed guys a zillion things about television wrestling and making things make sense. We did an EC3 seminar, which was very promo driven and character driven. So you're not going to get all these things at your wrestling school for the most part.
Right.
And it's always great to go and learn from guys that are doing it all over the world, whether it be on television or, wrestling internationally or all over the country. Like, these guys have developed their own experiences and ways to do and not do things. So that's kind of what the basis of a wrestling seminar is you go and you learn what those guys have learned.
Yeah, it makes you more well-rounded, I guess, for lack of better terms.
What's up, everybody? Alex Worldwide Keller here. And you know what was fun? Back in the 1980s, when the British Bulldogs were running wild. Boy, if I had a size small sweatshirt that I could wear with the beautiful faces of young Davey Boy Smith and the Dynamite Kid, and I think I'm South African now. But never mind that, because there's also Matilda. That's right, this is a beautiful WWF deal from 1980, size small sweatshirt. Pretty as a picture, and that's what you get at Thrift Store Jobber, Instagram, Etsy, eBay, etc. Use promo code WORLDWIDE and get 10% off your order.
All right, our next question. What are some of John and Steve's favorite wrestling memories as a fan?
As a fan, definitely Nathan Jones. As a fan, just like my favorite times as a fan was like being 14 and going to ECW house shows at the Cleveland Masonic Temple downtown, or later after that the Agora, and just mainly just WWF wrestling, from the late 80s and early 90s, and then I know Matt Wadsworth's favorite memory of myself that is a memory in wrestling is when we went to one of our first indie shows ever in Medina, Ohio, that was promoted by a guy named Handsome Frank Stiletto, who had a little hand in my training, by the way.
Yeah.
Handsome Frank. On the show was the Pitbulls and the Bushwhackers and Joey Mercury and Reckless Youth and Tom Brandy and Stevie Richards and all these guys, and the Bushwhackers, they just decided to lick my face up at 14 when I had my Sabu shirt on, and it was very uncomfortable for me. And now thinking about that in retrospect, it's probably very uncomfortable for a lot of people throughout the late 80s and early 90s to get licked by these men. There's a million memories of being a wrestling fan. It's just
I don't know. A lot of them blend together.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being a little kid and we finally had seats on the aisleway. Before it was a ramp, and and the guys used to come down and they'd high five all of you and you're the kids. Bret Hart's the champion. I got to touch the championship, and I was like, man, that's a big deal. The Winged Eagle.
Don't tell Brian Carson that story.
I remember being at Raw for the first time, and Kane's fire hits, and you feel how hot that is for the first time. I don't know. I'm sure plenty.
Yeah, I went to all kinds of Raws and stuff in the Attitude Era. I remember I went to Raw. I went to Raw the day WCW was bought or whatever.
I was there too. Yes,
I bought a ticket the day off of some third party, Merck's ticket agency or something, third party ticket thing, and I went alone and I sat by myself, and I was 16 or 17 years old, and it was really uncomfortable, but I just I just did not want to miss Raw. And when all my friends bought tickets, they bought tickets a long time ago, because in those days Raw would sell out day of.
Yeah,
tickets going on sale. So I found I bought some overpriced ticket the day of that event, and just went and sat.
I went to that show. My mom got tickets for me. She bought 3 tickets. It was me, a buddy, and my older brother. He drove us down there. And as fun, as exciting as that show itself was, the dramatics that I experienced beforehand, my brother parked his car into a downtown Cleveland parking lot, and it was packed, and they were like, leave your keys, we'll grab it. Locks his door, shuts the door with the keys in the ignition, the car running. So finally, we're waiting, and they'd have to get somebody to somehow get in there. Literally stop some guy's walking down the street and just goes, "We lock your keys in the car?" We're like, "Yeah." Knows how to break into a car and unlocks it for us. Oh yeah, that makes it feel safe.
Yeah,
makes it feel real good.
And then I guess one more memory is when I took a week off of high school to go to WrestleMania 18.
There you go.
And I almost
you and Michael Cole.
I almost got expelled. Michael Cole gave me my first experience with Jack Daniels. Underage, bought it for me in a bar, told me the time to ride the Cole train. And then in that bar, all kinds of WWF roster members at the time just went in there after Access to get drunk, not thinking it was thinking it was just going to be them in there. And then we were just waiting around, and Gold Dust and Johnny Ace and all kinds of weirdos were in there.
Nice. All right. This is a fun one, not wrestling related. And I'm pretty sure I know your answer. What is your favorite menu item at Taco Bell?
Nothing. Never. Don't eat Taco Bell.
Exactly what I thought you'd say. Taco Bell, folks, is a little bit too exotic for John Thorne. Too many condiments and other strange things.
Yeah, I ain't eating that.
Going together there.
I'm not eating that.
That's a podcast in itself. It's going down a rabbit hole. We will not get into John Thorne's food enjoyment. All right, next one. Hey guys, I've only missed 2 Mount Carmel shows since Jelly of the Month Club. Seems to me that you're outgrowing Mount Carmel. Any plans for a new venue in Cleveland? Love the Tadmore Shrine. Can't wait for next show there. Young guys really stepped up in the top 2 matches. That's nice for the young guys.
No, there's really not any plan, because it all goes back to, like I've said earlier, it all goes back to finances, and venues can get very expensive,
right?
Especially real venues. If we went to the Agora, we would go out of business probably after that show.
Yeah.
Because it gets so expensive. And there's not a lot of venues that are accepting of wrestling as it is, and ones that are very expensive or very busy, and it's hard to book a venue. So that's why when Mount Carmel's like parents got mad.
Just gonna bring that up, yeah,
about the Instagram, like tagging the venue on Instagram. That's why we said, can you please untag this? And people were kind of like, well, they don't, they're mad at wrestling or
we're
whatever.
Not WWE where we can just not have this venue be like, you know what, we don't need you.
Yeah.
And get in some sort of political stands and then go walk off.
Because then we're just not going to have shows. So
right.
They've been very hospitable. I understand that they whatever we pay to rent there is probably nowhere near what the tuition is for that private school for one student. So you got to kind of. They really don't need our business, guys. As much as you guys would like to think that they do, they really don't.
And to be fair, the church itself and the priest he's had reasons to be upset before. It's not necessarily that he was upset about them, but it was a headache for them to deal with.
And, they'd rather just not deal with that headache.
Right.
As much as... it may appear we're outgrowing Mount Carmel. We're really not, because, if we go to some big place, we're not going to fill it, and it's gonna look bad. And you never know, like tickets are so sporadic for shows, like you just never know. Even Mount Carmel shows, some of them sell really bad up until 2 days before, and we're freaking out.
Yeah.
So. You just never know. As of now, there are no plans to leave Mount Carmel unless they tell us you got to leave.
These aren't really questions. More like these are more please. First one, please reconsider your stance on Savio Vega.
I don't have an anti-Savio Vega stance. I just, that ticket from the island is expensive, guys. I looked into it.
Please, Savio Vega, reconsider your stance on how much you want to charge. How about that?
It's not even what he wants to charge. It's like
just the flight.
Let's get a residence in the continental United States.
And the other, please consider booking Don Fry versus Tom Lawler for J-Lit.
Don Fry, heavily. I've been looking for Don Fry for a year, guys. His website no longer exists. He does not return his Facebook-like messages. If you got a phone number or an email on the Predator Don Fry, please, by all means. I've been trying to get him for a year.
I
don't want to ask Dan Severn, because Dan Severn will just say, well, John, why don't you just book me for that event?
So this next one, I think we get asked pretty much every AMA, but is there anybody on the current independent scene you would love to bring in for a show?
I mean, that is such a general question. I don't know. I mean, who's independent? Brutus the Barber Beefcake? He's independent.
Savio Vega?
Savio Vega, he's an independent guy. Don Fry? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I just... wrestling is, like, at such a weird place right now. There's not a lot of the indie guys that I haven't booked, that I want to book that I haven't booked yet. Because it's like, I feel like it's still really in like a transitional period right now from when every single person got signed in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So there's just kind of like a drop off kind of in like, would people be really excited for this person or not? Like, I think like Keith Lee might have been like the last of those guys right now. And I could be wrong, I'm just my opinion of when you're weighing out again the expenses of the flight and the hotel and the fee, is this person going to equal around that in additional ticket sales? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do when you start really trying to look at it like a business to not lose money anymore. It's kind of like, and I understand, like, people see the crowds and the ticket prices, and honestly, we should be charging a lot more because we are barely scraping by as it is with the current ticket prices, just based on the expenses of a lot of these guys. People
people don't realize, what they're going to charge for a fee, and then you gotta throw on a $450 flight on top of that, and a $60 hotel room. It adds up quick. You know what I mean? So there's really not a lot of guys that I haven't booked yet that I want to book.
What about Private Theodore Stephen Dunlop?
No, absolutely not.
He'll never be booked on a show?
Session Moth, that's the only one on the list right now.
No PTSD, huh?
No.
Or the Flying Fantastico?
No, I don't want to book any of these fucking people. These alter egos of the students from the Bachelor Party Wrestling Show.
Next question. Are you going back to Now That's Class, and who is Danshoku Dino Wrestling?
Okay.
Signed, John knows exactly who asked this.
Yeah, this is signed The Masked Fish,
Yes.
A former AIW competitor extraordinaire. The plan is to go back to Now That's Class. Hopefully once a summer. There was talks of doing it more, but I just think that might water down the specialness of it. Because it turned out to be really exciting last year and had a really cool vibe, and everyone wanted us to do it again. So I think if you do more than one,
do we lose that vibe if we
lose the vibe? I think. Mm-hmm. So the plan is yes to go back, probably in August again. We don't have a date or anything as of yet, but. Yeah, that's kind of the plan, and I don't think Dino will be appearing, unless you got some frequent flyer miles and you want to put him towards a flight from Japan.
Oh man, here we go. Last one. Hey guys, let's cut the shit. Give us a list of everyone that's blackballed from the AIW territory. Thanks.
I don't even know where to start, man. I don't even know where to start. Yeah. I mean, you guys could figure it out. I mean, I'm sure you guys could figure it out if you really thought about it. We don't got to name any names.
Go back, watch things on powerbomb.tv.
Yeah, just work
from there.
They're either working at a gas station or they're blackballed, probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of in between stuff on that old stuff.
Well, that's gonna do it here. Thank you guys for contributing to the John Thorne AMA.
Oh, I thought of an independent wrestler that I would like to book.
Oh, there we go.
Ric Flair.
It's fair. He's not on a Legends contract. Is he independent?
Yeah, he's
Close enough.
Whatever. Enough. He does what he wants. So there you go. Thank you once again. Thanks for submitting your questions. And, of course, follow us along on Twitter at AI Wrestling, as well as the same handle on Instagram. And check out everything we got going on at AIWrestling.com. That's going to do it for this one. For John Thorne, my name's Steve Guy. We'll talk to you next week, everybody.
Oh, wait. I don't want to record a new Pollyanna DIY commercial, so I'm just going to tell you guys to go to PollyannaDIY.com right now and buy some buttons and some T-shirts. They don't offer the Memphis Wrestling T-shirt anymore because another podcast scared them off with a cease and desist order from Jerry Lawler. Unfortunately, there's no more.
I wonder who that podcast was then.
There's no more Memphis Wrestling T-shirt, but they still do have that awesome Extreme Root shirt. And I'm sure maybe if you shoot him an email, maybe he's got a couple of those Memphis Wrestling T-shirts laying around. Just can't be selling those on the on the public front page. All right. That's it. Use promo code AIW when you buy something.
You always say bye again?
Yes.
All right. For AIW owner John Thorne, my name's Steve Guy. We'll talk to you next week.
I thought you were going to say bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
There. See, you said you were going to say bye, and then you
did bye.
Then you said goodbye. Now it's just bye.